The merciless snowfields of Snezhnaya are home to some of the most resilient people known to humankind. Although Alyosha is a hunter who stakes his own life to gather precious food, his enemy is not those he hunts, but the snowstorm itself. But what will happen when he has to face the harsh environment of the rest of the world? Is he going to be an absolute beast, or is he going to be too rough? Find out as we try to beat Genshin Impact with only Alyosha. But before we get into the run, I'd like to give a big thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. They're back and better than ever. Are you tired of not having the best shows available in your region? Well, Opera GX has a free built-in VPN. No sign up or extension needed. Just look at this. By turning on the VPN and switching your location to the Americas, Asia or Europe, you'll be able to unlock so many different and up-to-date shows. Their built-in ad blocker also handles those annoying pop-ups. Watch them disappear right before your eyes. Want to get rid of that plain, boring browser look? Well, GX mods have exactly what you need. From different wallpapers, sounds, and more. You'll be able to customize your browser to just how you like it. You can even mix and match different mods, just like how I run the craziest teams in Imaginarium. Grinding the game can get a bit boring at times, but check this out. We can click this button on any video to pop it out, and now you'll be able to watch whatever you want at the same time. It's just so useful. But switching to Opera GX doesn't mean you'll have to start from scratch. You can copy all of your bookmarks, save passwords, and everything else in just a couple of clicks. So what are you waiting for? Use my link in the description below to download Opera GX today. Here are the rules. If you've seen a couple of my other videos, you'll know about the secret 6th rule, but if you haven't, don't worry too much about it just yet. It will come into play a bit later. But I won't keep you all waiting for too long. Let's just get into the run. We first start off with Amber's domain, and compared to Odette, I had a much better time with the skip here. Alyosha having the medium male model means that we're more likely to land every single jump here. And being a bit taller also means we can jump over the spikes in Kaya's domain. And since we're Electro, we can just complete Lisa's domain the regular way for extra XP, which completes Act 1.
Ready or not.
Act 2 starts off with the Eye of the Storm, and we can cheese it by standing on this pillar. Now, if you don't know, it only damages you if you're on the ground, and since we're technically at an elevation, we don't take any damage. But what I didn't know is that from here, we can also shoot it down mid-air.
Something else is bothering me. Last week nobody helped Obama in the building. Like, there's no...
I don't know why or how, but our gun has a lot of knockback. Like, Zamenhof was literally getting flung around every time we shot him. The Ruin Guard, on the other hand, can't really get knocked back, but here's where a different part of our kit comes into play. Ruin Guards and other mechanical automatons have such high physical resistance, but pretty average elemental resistance. Our burst not only does a lot of elemental damage, but is also a taunt, so we're clear from almost all attacks. Also, when it does its spin move, it will never change targets, so even if our burst expires, it will just bugger off in a random direction. Okay, you could have been any of these cool as random names, and you just decide to be called the Elf Jalker. Execution by firing squad. This time I made sure to do Lisa's story quest right after Act 2 to avoid the extra running around we saw last time in Odette only, which means it's now time to finish off the nation. Taking down Dvalin's shield is a bit slower than usual. Oh, I did not say bitch. Taking down Dvalin's shield is a bit slower than usual, and what makes matters even worse is that our burst is extremely reliable and totally not useless here. Not only is the spike outside of its range, but Tuorin is doing what Odette did last time and is phasing through Dvalin's neck. Like, what the dog doing? It takes 2 more rotations to take down the dragon, both of which I didn't use our burst again for obvious reasons. But that means that we have completed Mondstadt with an actual end screen this time in 2 hours, 50 minutes and 57 seconds. You wanna know what's funny? We actually beat Odette here in terms of time. We're the new 4th place overall and also first out of all of the 4-star runs, so he's doing really well here. But why? Alyosha, I think that's how you say his name. The English dub calls him Alyosha, but it just doesn't sound right to me, so I'm gonna call him Alyosha. Alyosha is an Electro Spear user, and unlike Odette, who funnels everything into her skill, who is still pretty good, don't get me wrong, he has multiple sources of damage and parts of his kit that are equally important, so you might want to sit back and relax because it's going to be a bit of a long one this time. One thing that applies to all of his abilities is the Hunter's Mark. As you can probably tell, it marks the enemies with the symbol that you've already might have seen earlier in the run, but the mark does nothing at first. If you apply the mark again to an enemy, it clears it and increases your attack, which is great because all of Alyosha's damage scales with attack. The mark and the buff both last for 15 seconds, but this kinda doesn't really mean anything because we're gonna be constantly applying it. But how do we apply it? Literally every single one of his abilities. The gunshot on his normal attack applies both, his skill applies both, and his burst can trigger the buff, but not the mark, but we'll get back to that a bit later. Apart from applying the mark, his normal attacks are the same old thing, but his final gunshot is more likely to stagger enemies at the cost of not being able to break rocks. I've mentioned the burst previously, and it's basically a taunt that does electro damage every 2 seconds to enemies in its range, and also summons Tugurin to attack an enemy every 2 seconds. Tugurin will target enemies with the Hunter's Mark, which means that most of the time he'll gang up on the same enemy as you, but there is another way to apply the mark to multiple enemies. His skill has 2 forms, a tap and a hold version, and they both do 2 different things. His tap skill fires an electro shot right in front of him in a very small AoE, whereas his held skill shoots every enemy in his range after charging it up to max. It is really good against multiple enemies, and even though we do get increased interruption resistance, there are still a few disadvantages to it, which I'll talk about a bit later in the video as it comes up. Since we're level 40 here, we're able to unlock our first Ascension passive, which allows Tugurin to heal us every time he attacks, which is honestly really great. Now we're going to be able to sustain a lot more in the upcoming fights, which is really needed because of this. It's another case of a character being unable to beat their boss. It gives itself an electro shield as soon as it spawns, and most of the time electro shields are no big deal, but Alyosha doesn't have anything to break it and it's immune to damage, so yeah, there's no way we can do this. I literally spent an entire hour doing the Snezhnaya Archon quest to unlock the map just for him to not be able to do it. Looks like Alyosha is going to be stuck at level 40 for the rest of the run. But at least we get a free constellation, which now gives us free energy when we trigger an electro reaction. So let's start putting it to the test in Liyue. Mooncarver giving us free energy means that Tugurin is Tugar in the fight the entire time. All the soldiers get taunted by our burst, which makes it a lot easier to hit them all with our skill. And speaking of our skill, its targeting is really weird because sometimes it doesn't hit every enemy in its range. I thought it was just this one time before Cloud retained his domain, but it seems like it's a reoccurring problem because it happened here as well. Okay, to be completely fair, the second one is probably because I didn't hold it for long enough, but if that's the case then it's not even my fault because you can quite clearly see his radar cover every enemy here. Also, we sniffed this guy out pretty early this time. Even though this automaton is some crazy advanced Khanrian machine, it can still get taunted by this goofy ass dog. And that is Act 1 done. Now unfortunately we can't detect this quite obvious pot literally right in front of us, but we can detect this bulbous geoslime. We even hit a good amount of damage against the treasure hoarders, but like, it's rookie numbers right now, nothing that exciting yet. But what is exciting is that we now have a C2 Alyosha. Now this is a massive power spike. Basically, it extends our burst by an extra 6 seconds. That doesn't sound like much, but that's a whole 20 seconds of Tugurin. And even Tugurin gets buffed too. Now he can apply the mark as well rather than just detonate it. It's almost as if we have 2 Gurins. Get it? No? Okay. We weren't quite as stealthy as we hoped so instead we had a gun showdown against the Fatui. At this point in the run, we're already behind almost every other run because everyone else is at level 50. We can really see it against the Whopper Flowers here, as even though we can break their shields really fast, our overall damage output is really low. It's not a problem just yet, but I really hope this doesn't bite us in the ass later. Now Child has a strong sense for combat because he's one of the few enemies we're going to be facing that can't get taunted from our burst. We can still damage him with it, but we don't have the luxury of not getting hit. And although our burst has healing, we've got to step back every now and then to clear the mark he puts on us because his mark is a lot more deadly than ours. The other thing is that after his first phase, he does become resistant to Electro, but it is no problem for us. We can just keep hitting him with our regular attacks, which leaves him no choice but to summon this guy. And after shooting down Osail with some slightly bigger guns, We complete Liyue in 8 hours, 31 minutes, and 41 seconds, which is really crazy because we've actually taken 3rd place out of everyone. I don't even know how this happened, but this is nuts. Being less than 10 minutes behind Snezhnaya is actually such an achievement. I think we need to have a little celebration here. Okay, but not for too long because we've got some strange activity to investigate. Now, we have seen these mages in the past, but I haven't really talked about them too much because I was saving them for this act. Pyro and Hydro shields both get destroyed by our burst. Most of the time, it's just gonna take one burst to destroy both, as long as they don't teleport away. Like I said with like almost every other enemy so far, they're not a problem. Not yet, that is. No spoilers, but these guys are going to get really annoying later. Cryo mages too. Now the Herald is a bit different. It's not a boss, so it can still get taunted, but its shield is a lot bigger than a mage's. It does take multiple uses of a burst for the shield to finally go down. And with Fontaine done, it is time to move on to the land of lightning. Now here's the deal, we're a level 40 Alyosha, but not only that, we also have a level 40 weapon. We can't upgrade our Fav Lance because it requires materials from Mondstadt, and you already know the issue with that. Also, we've got to farm an extra boss for the adventure handbooks, so that kinda sucks. At AR 30, having the maximum level at 60 now means that we're really behind. But it can't be that bad yet, right? Tugarin, go! Sniff that guy's ass! Tugarin is really the MVP here because the taunt becomes so much more valuable as we progress. As we fight harder and harder enemies, we're bound to take more damage and get hit a lot more often. We're effectively going to have 0 enemies on us while our burst is up, so every fight in the police station is just the officers losing their mind over the most obvious rage bait. And I haven't mentioned it yet, but we're actually running an energy recharge build. Hear me out. Instead of going the typical triple attack build I run on attack scaling characters, we're actually going to be running an energy recharge sans, plus other artifacts that give us an energy recharge bonus. Instead of trusting in our low damage, having our burst come up as often as possible is the most important thing this run. Especially as the fights get longer and longer, which makes it a lot more likely for us to get hit. We need the enemies off of us so that we can just step back and take a breather.
Gotcha.
Hey, okay, at least I got one here. Our skill hits literally anyone in its range, so there's no avoiding the red dummies here. Also, it's on a 15-second timer anyways, so there's no way we're gonna get through 6 rounds. But before we get into the heat of battle, I think it's finally time for an upgrade. Oh, sorry Alakino, not you. You can go and sit in the corner over there for now. There you are, my beautiful, beautiful weapon that can finally be upgraded past 40. As it is right now, it won't generate energy as fast as the Fav Lance because Fav is just the most broken spear in the game, but we can level it up to 60 so that the much higher attack stat should feel a lot better in combat. Well, it definitely does because we hit a new high of 2259 against these guys here. Now, with our skill at a 15-second cooldown, there's no way we can light all 3 monuments here. But let me prove you wrong. Right here. Oh! Big guy does do a lot of damage to us, but thanks to our first constellation, we can trigger Electrocharge, which means that we're able to generate enough energy to send out Tugarin again and heal it all back up. But with that fight out of the way, it is time for the Delusion Factory. Last video I asked you all for a new name for this bit and the top answer was Delusion Takes, so welcome to Delusion Takes! Now this is a spicy one this time. I think dogs are better than cats. Oh well, okay, hold on. I know half of you want to close the video right now, but hang on just a minute. Let me explain myself. I have a pet bunny, so they're both trash. I'm joking, please. We haven't even got to the fun part of the video yet. I have plenty of friends that either have dogs or cats as pets, and I just seem to like their dogs more. I don't know. They're all just really friendly. Also, all of my friends' dogs seem to like me a lot for some reason. The first time I went over to one of my friend's house, her dog instantly saw me for the very first time ever, and the first thing that it did was jump on me and lay down on my chest, because why not? Like, how sweet is that? That is one of the coolest things ever. Apparently it's a pretty feisty one as well, so it trusting me felt amazing. Also, for some reason, it likes to lick my feet, but that has nothing to do with this. The cats my friends have, They're cool, but they purposely annoy you when you're trying to concentrate on something, and I low-key think I'm allergic too, so that doesn't help. If I were to have either of the two as a pet, I think I prefer a dog. But let me know about what you all think, because I've got an even spread of friends with dogs and cats. I don't know what people in general like. Just before we get ready to fight Signora, we're gonna need another power boost, and luckily for us, we do manage to pull another Alyosha. His third constellation isn't anything too special. Similar to other constellations, it just raises his talent by 3 for his skill, so like around a 25% damage increase. We also get a bit more attack from our hunter buff, but it's only a very small boost, but surely that is all we need to beat the fair lady. Just like Child, she's not falling for our simple taunts, but even so, Tugurin is putting in the work, healing us up while we clear our ice bar. We can even charge him up while Signora's in her cocoon so that we can instantly put him out at the start of the next phase. Because we have healing in our kit, this fight is no problem compared to all the other runs, except we did use up all the water bombs because it just took so long with our measly damage. They do respawn, so just after using this one, we had just enough to take down the witch. I'm not even going to talk about the Shogun fight because she's immune to Electro, so that's basically it for Inazuma with a time of 14 hours, 19 minutes, and 35 seconds, which places him between Linnea and Nicole. On a scale of 1 to dog how dog was this fight? Okay, compared to Yansan and Beidou, this was literally like fighting a puppy because our taunt is nuts, and even if we do get hit, we can just heal it all back up. Not like I know what fighting a puppy is like, okay, so don't call me out for that. However, some of the Lictor's attacks take away our energy, which means we're still going to try to do our best to dodge everything. Thanks to our taunt, we can get a bunch of free plunges in to do extra damage to the shield, but it was still a 10-minute fight. The one type of mage we haven't talked about yet is the Electro Mage, and like the Herald, we have to attack its shield with physical attacks. It does summon a ring of electricity, which is usually annoying, but it only does damage to you on the outside, so thanks to Tugurin's sustain, we can just mow it down. See you later, Chasm. We even went to go beat up a marginally bigger dog, and even got a whole 5-star artifact, but it was defense, so at least we pulled another Alyosha, which makes him now C4. Honestly, it doesn't really do that much, it just gives us a bit more healing on our burst, so a bit more sustain. Pretty nice. But moving on, time to finally show our charged attacks against the Withering. This attack is pretty common to a lot of other characters. They all have the old spin forward attack, but I'm not complaining or anything because it does get the job done. Unfortunately, you'll just never see it again because we just have other better methods of dishing out damage. Hello, did this Hello just turn into a dog?
That one's a guard.
Serious? Fungi are notorious for being pests, both in real life and in game. I wouldn't know though because I haven't had a fungal infection before. That also does not mean you should send me pictures of your fungal infections. I am perfectly fine without them and I'd rather not throw up. Why the hell did I even put this in the script? Mods, put me in timeout. These guys can be zapped from the get-go though, so that means... I haven't played this game in ages. 4-4. Alright, I'm stealing his fucking magnifying glass. Skadoosh. I'm gonna chuck one. Take a 50-50. Come on. Yeah, come on. One knife, one blank. I'll eat one. I get a health back. And then I take another 50-50. Come on. Oh, that's fucking crazy. Goodbye. Both have an inverter. I got a hijacker. 2 adrenalines and a handcuff. And a phone. Ooh, okay, my items are good. 3-4. 7 shells blank. I'll do this. And then I hijack his saw. Nice. Goodbye. See you later, bro. Ooh, yeah. What the fuck is wrong with my game? Why are you disconnecting? Rift Hounds are not really a problem to us because we just have inbuilt healing. I mean, you could tell I wasn't really worried about them because I was still doing karaoke. Being able to b-hop means that the statues at the Alyosha hospital here were super chill. If anything, I was more worried about the Liyue because this guy refused to get taunted and was staring us down like mad. And even though I experienced the crazy fungi firsthand not too long ago, I still made the conscious decision to charge 4 of them up at once because again, Tugarin's taunt is so incredibly useful, and also we just took out 3 of them anyways during our burst timer, so it wasn't too bad. Did I know this was gonna happen? No, but let's just say I did because this is my channel and I make the rules, alright? No arguing. Revere me like a god. Oop, let's just rewind a bit because we need to talk about the Tui first. A lot of the range enemies actually tend to stay outside of our burst damage, so even though Tugarin can still hit them, they aren't receiving nearly half of the damage our burst should be doing. Also, the numbers that are appearing when they have their shields up are just straight up sad. At least we're still able to take out half of their health bars before they put their shields up. When it comes to the first phase of the Moosh fights, there's always 2 options. 1, beat the crap out of the Moosh, or 2, let the Moosh beat the crap out of us. Guess which one makes the most sense this time. And also, we can't really break the turrets in a second phase, so for the first time in a very long time, you wanna say it with me? We sacrifice the radish. Where are you going, mate? Sumeru is complete in 21 hours, 49 minutes, and 29 seconds. We're a bit slower than Flynn's, but still the fastest 4-star, beating Beidou by just 10 minutes. Now, I'm sure you saw this coming, but Alyosha can't light the pot. I guess it's finally time to bring Father out of the corner after not seeing her for the entirety of the Snezhnaya Archon quest. So all that's left here is the Cryo Herald, and similar to the Hydro one, we're gonna rely on Tugarin to do most of the work for us, but this time he's not the most reliable. Because of how our burst works, it gets placed in front of us from where we're facing, regardless of whether or not there's a wall in front of us. Now Tugarin can still attack him, but again we're missing out on a lot of extra damage. But no worries, one little mishap does not mean that the fight is doomed, we can still shoot him down to finish Carry Bear. Welcome to Fontaine, where even the harbor with 0 enemies is considered highly dangerous. At AR 40, we're at half of the current level cap, which means from here on out, it's going to be a lot more difficult. But not Fontaine because there's like 3 combat sections, which will probably be done in 2 minutes, but we will see. I know you all love seeing me struggle and mold and crash out, but you won't be seeing this from me this time. I am a changed person, and I will not crash out at the slightest inconvenience. Oh my fucking god, just die already. These guys do so much damage now. Like, how am I already half health from that? What? Their level indicators are literally red. What are we even doing here? Also, there is one thing that I've noticed that is very annoying and needs to be fixed. Whenever we're next to a wall and use Alyosha's skill, the camera screws up big time and zooms in really close. It doesn't reset, so I manually have to change the view every single time because I just can't see shit. It's really bad in a cramped space, so what about this one here? Emergency meeting! We need to discuss our strategy here. Alright, the game plan is to use our burst whenever possible. Throw it out off cooldown. Tugarin needs to get into the fight if we have a chance of surviving this torture chamber. Whenever Tugarin needs a rest, we have to focus on the Ruin Guard because if it decides to use its missile attack, we're absolutely toast. But as a hunter, we are elusive and slippery and managed to not get hit before we charged our burst again. And then it used the missile attack again. But again, we managed to pull through and use our burst again, so... Okay. Pause. I know I shouldn't be placing myself far from the Ruin Guard, which is why it's doing so many missile attacks, but I needed to get out of that death zone immediately. One more hit and we would have been done. But here is where our crazy game knowledge came in. I am not dying here after getting these rogues down so low. I know that if we can use our skill just one more time, we will get enough energy to burst, but the missiles will arrive faster from my position. So how are we going to get out of this one? Here's the answer. I use our tap skill to immediately spawn the particles, ran towards the Ruin Guard to buy literally milliseconds of time, and managed to use our burst at the pixel perfect frame. So we got the immunity frames exactly when everything attacked us, and we started healing back up to maximum health. God level mechanics right there. Anyways, we did die a minute later because my so-called god-level mechanics made me walk into the spinning ruin guard after the burst expired. But at least we got rid of the rogues, so it's just a very lengthy 4-minute battle with the ruin guard before we fucking monk the whale by doing absolutely nothing. Which means Fontaine is now complete in 29 hours, 23 minutes, and 30 seconds. We are still 10 minutes ahead of Beidou, so nothing has really changed, but will this still be the case in the final stretch? You know how I said all the way back in the Dainsleif quest that the Abyss Mages were going to get really annoying? Yeah, well, they definitely are now. Since we do negative damage to them, they're actually able to regenerate their shields. Now, trying to disarm them was rough enough, but now we've got to do that multiple times? That's just cruel. This Cryo Herald was unironically way easier to deal with. And you want to know what's funny? It now takes more time to deplete its regular health bar than its cryo shield. Like, that's just how weak we are right now. Our electro application isn't even the best, so this is just atrocious. However, the worst is still yet to come. Yeah. Okay, our burst is actually not too bad at breaking the pylons, but slight issue, hitting the pylon doesn't give us energy. We have to make sure we hit one of the enemies to gain energy so that we can burst. And the best way to do so is to use our health skill so that it also hits the pylon and fills up the shield just a little bit extra. In Act 2, the Pyro Mage was about to regain its shield, but because its attack spread pyro to the grass, the Abyssal Dinos trigger overload and knock back the mage so that it can't recover. The dude overloaded himself to his own demise. Yeah, so as you can see, we're getting one shot. So let me tell you about the secret 6th rule I mentioned at the very beginning of the video. I implemented this rule previously for Llama and Beidou because they were in a situation very similar to Alyosha. After AR 40, if I am unable to ascend the character past level 60, I am allowed to lower the world level. Now I could have done this as soon as we reached Fontaine, but because the fights weren't actually that bad, I decided not to. But hello, we've just been one-shot twice in one domain by 2 different enemies. If that isn't a reason to do it, then I don't know what is. But I at least wanted to try it one more time. I geared up an HP goblet to level 20, which meant slightly less energy recharge, but if it manages to save me in the next battle, it will all be worth it. As you can see, it was indeed the win condition. Thank you, HP Goblet. I will always remember you and the incredible duty you have performed. Now get the fuck out of here. I want my energy recharge back. Oh my god, look at that amazing 200 ER in a solo run. Yummy. It is such a shame that we can't level Alyosha because his second passive talent gives him additional attack stats based on his energy recharge. I'm sure he'd be so much more of a monster. Whoa, okay, not that one. We still haven't implemented the 6th rule yet, and maybe Celestia responded to my hard work in Act 3 because the Hydro Gunner just decided to not pull up his shield at all. On the other hand, you have this piece of shit. The next wave is chill though. By proccing Overload on the Pyro Gunner, it actually breaks the Geomancer's shield, so it knocks him down quite a few times this battle. And so, just a few minutes later, I can't actually believe we beat this fight first try with a level 40 4-star character. Do you know how much pain I've gone through in this fight with characters that literally demolish this guy's damage? Alyosha makes it look like a Blue's Clues side mission, like there's actually no way. I'd say the same thing about the next bunch of fights as well, but the Cryo Gunners are kinda weird. They have the same issue as the Ruin Guards because they can't be taunted mid-spray. They stay locked onto their target until they run out of juice, which can be bad, but is also good because I got them with the reverse combo just a bit later. Also, because the domain has a bunch of free Yumkasaurs, we can actually use them in 2 different ways. The first one is to hit the enemies with our regular skill, and then evade with the Yumkasaur so that we can wait out our cocoon without the risk of taking damage. It's really good for this fight here because the Cryo Gunner is still a fucking dog. The second method is to use it for combat. The level of the Saurian we inhabit is not based on our own level, it's based on our world level. So obviously, a level 69 Saurian is just going to be way better than our current Alyosha. And no, this does not break the rules, we're just using our environment to our advantage. We still are technically Alyosha, but we're just inhabiting a creature right now. Also, Tugurin is on the field, so how about that? And since the Yunkasaur is Dendro, we can actually trigger catalyzed reactions for a bit of extra damage, so that's kinda neat. But after all of that, we still haven't gotten to the most important part of the nation. We can skip a lot of the earlier war fights because they all kinda are the same. Most pylons have other enemies, so we can just shoot them down for energy, and the Mimiflora count as enemies too, so that's 2 birds with 1 stone, or should I say 2 birds with 1 bullet. In this fight, we put burning onto ourselves to break the Abyssal Shield multiple times.
Gotcha.
Does this count? I'm gonna say this one counts. You'll see in a lot of these fights, we are not going to be able to take down the Mimiflora in one phase, and that is especially true for this one here. I'm going back to the old technique from like way back, I don't remember who, but I'll put it up on the screen, and that is to fight the secret source Mimiflora up here first. Pakao and the Dino have geo attacks which help break the shield faster, and while I'm breaking the shield, I'm paying attention to what is happening down below, because as you can see here, the other Mimiflora is burning itself on the grass, which means we can just go back down and deal a very minuscule amount of damage before it just transforms back. Now we can return to the top one and take down its shield, just for Pakao to drag it out of our burst. Like, excuse me, what the f, man, I literally set that up perfectly and you ruined it. Okay, whatever, I'll forgive you, just don't do it again. Bro. He tries to do it one more time, by the way, like, don't think I can't see what you're doing there. You're lucky I'm blocking the other side. This one finally goes down after so many transformations, so we can just all gang up on the other one, Pakao. I mean this in the nicest, most friendliest way possible. Genuinely, what the f are you doing? Didn't even need your help anyways. I love the burning technique. This is actually so niche, it's amazing. Has anyone actually done this before? Can we coin this as the meme ride technique? I've done it so many times already, surely I deserve it at this point. I am totally not getting egotistical or anything, I just got that dog in me, you know? Just so you all have to understand the amount of torture I've had to go through over the last couple of hours, let me show you how many times I had to break this guy's shield without the help of NPCs. And this is one of the weaker Mimiflora, by the way. Oh, I am so glad that is over. Now I don't have to deal with any of these things ever again. Natlan, and therefore the entire run is complete in 37 hours, 55 minutes and 21 seconds, which puts us in 9th place, right in the middle of the leaderboard. And considering that we didn't even lower the world level a single time, this is honestly such an amazing achievement. So let's put him in the ratings and see how well he actually did. For combat, now unfortunately I'm in a little predicament, similar to Llama and Beidou, because they also couldn't really show their full potential. But I think it's completely fair to give Alyosha a 4. Although his damage is absolutely horrendous, his utility is actually so useful. The big thing is his taunt. Without it, I think a lot of the fights in the late game would have been at least 10 times more difficult. But that's not all. He also has heals on his burst. He can increase his attack with the Hunter's Mark. He has really good survivability, which makes up for the lack of damage, and even though there are some fights where we can get one shot, there were still ways to get around it. Farming is an obvious one, like I don't need to explain it. He can't beat his boss, so he can't get past level 40, and that also means that he can't upgrade his talents. Star Glitter is also annoying to mine rocks for, but nothing can really change the score, so yeah. Exploration is a 2. There's nothing really special about Alyosha, apart from the fact that he can B-hop, and I've given other characters like this a 2, so a 2 it is. And finally, enjoyment. Now here's the thing. Call me crazy, but I actually had more fun with the run itself than with Odette. I think the fact that I was so incredibly weak compared to her meant that I had to strategize on the spot and figure out how to play fights a lot more, which made it so much more exciting. Was it fun seeing Pakao fuck up all my hard work? Of course not. But there were so many methods and unconventional techniques that I used in this run, so I can say I'm actually really happy with the outcome. Matter of fact, I actually like Alyosha more than Odette as well, but that doesn't influence the score I'm about to give him, which is a 5. In total, Alyosha gets a score of 12 out of 20, which is an okay score. It's low in the comparison to the rest of the runs I've done, but it's all thanks to his boss, so blame that, not me. Now you might be thinking, Odette and Alyosha back to back before their banners have even ended? I know. I just wanted to push myself since it was the start of the new region, but I'm not doing this again, okay? I low-key had to time manage so much over the past couple of weeks and it was very rough. But that doesn't mean I'm necessarily taking a break. Spanish Natlan should be next, and then Emily, I think, because I've finished recording her. But we'll see. Now I don't want to have to keep on saying which characters are in the backlog every single video because there's quite a few of them, so I'll just let you all know closer to when I decide to actually do their runs. But that is it for the video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure you do chuck a like on the video, subscribe to see more runs like this one, and I will see you next time.